But it's like Graham Hunter is with us. Graham, good morning to you. How are you?
Buenos dias. Robust, noisy, confident. How many more adjectives do you want?
Is that you or the city you're in?
No, me. To me, always me. The city I'm in is gloriously warm. The restrictions, which have been a curfew, meaning everybody's got to be indoors by 10. Boy, the cops have been loving it. They go, this is what it's like in the good old days. The cops have us all heard our scratches at 10 o'clock and you're not allowed out until 6 a.m, aka my glory hours. It's a disaster. But the restrictions were lifted on Monday. Golf courses were open, so I was out yesterday. So, listen, everything's rosy. Yeah, everything's rosy.
And Rosie with the team selection last night as well. So we were flashing around the Barcelona team going, whoa, look at this. This is a completely different team from one that anybody, if you'd sat down at the start of the year and predicted, okay, I'm going to give you the fixture at the end of November in the Champions League, give me that starting 11, 1,000,000 to 1 that somebody would have come up with the team you picked last night. And I only saw the score, so I didn't see too much of the game. I saw some of the goals. Were they as good as the scoreline said?
You want to quote Fergie in this instance and give it his football bloody hell thing, Jer, because I was at the first leg, the first game, and Dinamo Kiev against a very strong Barcelona side in that game, a Barcelona side which started as if they were going to win 6-0, scored a couple of really quick goals. I think had one ruled out. They could easily have been 3-4-0 up within 10 minutes. Were then battered. I mean, absolutely battered. Dinamo Kiev had 22 efforts at goal, 13 on target at Camp Nou, scored one. Marc-Andre ter Stegen that night was man of the match by a distance, was given the UEFA Man of the Match award, and produced 4 or 5 of the best saves that he's ever had at Camp Nou. And then in the Olympic Stadium in Kiev, not only is Ansu out and Piqué out and Busquets out through injury and more, and he decides wisely, I mean, really whatever the result was, he decides to leave Messi behind. That was just glaringly obvious. It's been glaringly obvious for many managers who haven't had the cojones to do it, that you can't squeeze every last drop of genius out of Messi every single minute of every single game. It's not right. I don't know, it's 4 or 5 years, or certainly 4 years, I think 5 years, since Zidane persuaded Cristiano Ronaldo, who's a physical beast, that he couldn't play every game, and yet nobody had the smarts to sit Messi down and say, listen, every now and again, wee man. Anyway, he's out, Frankie de Jong's left behind. But then the real surprise is that when they take a very raw, very green squad to Kiev, and they leave Griezmann out for what Koeman later says was a slight physical problem, but Griezmann comes on. They leave Alba out, and they stroll it, to be honest. So the football bloody hell thing was, where were Kiev? What happened? Kiev, in the first game, were said to be missing, I mean, they were missing the players, but the players, the 8 that were missing through COVID problems, were said to be absolute guaranteed first-team starters, just vital to Lucescu's team. The majority of them were back. I interviewed Lucescu and the Portuguese player Gerson after the first game, and they were like, I mean, literally, they were like, oh, let's get these boys back to Kiev, because I tell you this, and they were awful. Kiev were pallid. On top of which, as the pattern of play developed, Barcelona were adequate and cagey first half, and second half, even though they were a debutant Mingueza at 21 at centre back, playing next to Longley, even though Dest, I think that was Dest's first start in the Champions League for Barca. He'd racked up 5-6 games for Ajax. Look, we could go through it. Junior Firpo has been playing really poor football. He starts at left back. Alenya was told to find a new club by Koeman, and he starts at Pivote next to Pjanic. And irrespective of that, and Brathwaite being up front, who's overdue time, Dane, but people keep sneering at because he played for Middlesbrough and he played for Leganés. It's ridiculous. They don't judge the horse flesh. They go, oh, well, look at the track record. Anyway, the long and short is they looked around, they sniffed the air and went, we can counter this. And they did, and it could have been more. And there are few away Barca results in my time living in Spain that have surprised me as much as this did. Dinamo Kiev had a huge part in that. I just don't understand how they could be under strength at Camp Nou, pummel Barca, deserve to win, and then get pumped at home by a Barca side, which, as you said, you'd have laid millions to one that they would turn out a Champions League side with those 11 names if you asked somebody 6-7 months ago. I agree with you.
Just to pick up on what you said about Messi there, Graham, there might be, I certainly am under the impression that there is less genius available to Lionel Messi, that he is declining at the moment. But from what you're saying there, it seems that you just have to pick and choose your moments when to extract the genius out of Lionel Messi. He just can't do it as much as he used to be able to do it, rather than not being able to do it at that a high level anymore.
Joe, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not going to jump on the words too much. You said less genius available. I would personally phrase it differently. I think that it's still well within his compass to play consistently like the best footballer in the world if you take away several elements that are under his skin right now. So first of all, even when he was 27, 28, you could find a not tepid, but a patchy Messi performance when he came back from two really big midwinter FIFA qualification fixtures against tough teams. Now that he's 33 and a half, that's equally the case, and albeit that he flared briefly in the first part of the defeat to Atleti at the weekend, gradually he faded from the game. But the key factors are he's still massively ticked off at what's around him, Joe. He stayed mostly out of the moving pieces not falling into place for him in the summer, rather than of his own volition. On a daily basis, I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever, because not just what the upfront manager briefings or PR will tell you, the players say, the staff say that Messi's on it in training, that the environment is better, that he's enjoying himself, that he's coping much better without having his best pal, breached to his Sundance in Luis Suarez having gone. But the quality of the displays, how robust Barcelona are, the quality of the ball that they give him, the movement around him, all these things remain a really glaring problem. His relationship with Griezmann is absolutely fine. There's a lot of horse spoken about that by people who don't know. But he looks around him and he sees a side which is shorn of world-class talent, a side which is peppered with really good young footballers who are finding their way, but haven't played a great deal of football with them and can't be expected at 18, 19, 20 to be knocking teams over week in, week out. That's the main ailment at Football Club Barcelona. He's in a moment where he's part of an effort by the club to strip. People make far too little of this, whether you talk about analysing Messi, Joe, or the squad. They're being asked to, and they've been asked for months now, the negotiations are going on, they've been asked to lose 190 million off the wage bill. So all of the players have been told, while we are running you into the ground and playing you all every single possible opportunity, and while you're all knackered and most of you are staving off injury or coming back from injury or scared of COVID or worried about your families in an environment where, because actually, shock horror, everybody listening off the ball AM, footballers are human beings, they're allowed to be worried about the spread of this virus, about it. They're not just machines that we take out the cupboard every weekend. The words of Klopp and the words of Koeman prior to Kiev echo really loudly in this dressing room, as I think every dressing room. We, as an industry, the footballers have been treated like as base commodities as I've ever seen in my career, and then they've been told, and we need some of that money back that we agreed to give you. Some of it, how much? Millions, please. The atmosphere right now for Leo Messi is one whereby the debate about what kind of Messi are we going to see age 33, 34, 35, 36, maybe even 37 That debate has been nudged out. The vision is blurred because of the surrounding circumstances. This is not a question of is he still a football genius? Can he still be the best in the world at 33, 34? Could he win the Copa America next summer? Should he be thinking about winning a Champions League at Barcelona because maybe it's time to do it? All these things are slightly out of focus because right now the climate at Football Club Barcelona is not good. There's no board, there's no president. They know Koeman is a one-term manager. It's a very, very, very difficult environment. And what we're seeing in Messi is a guy who's a little bit ticked off that he didn't get to go. I think now looking around him, that there's a very decent chance he won't win a trophy in what might well be his last season at Football Club Barcelona. A guy who's been asked for some of his money back, and a guy who, I mean, this really, really makes me angry. Not on behalf of Messi or I'm not a Barcelona supporter. I've said that so often during my career. But why are we in a living, you, two, and me, and why have you got people tuning in? Because sportsmen and women produce uplifting, confusing, unpredictable, genius-style stuff that's as big as any drama TV put on, any opera throughout history, and sport is probably the number one cultural thing that's ever been invented. And we're running them into the ground. And Leo Messi travels 15 hours home from Argentina to be greeted by Hacienda, means sort of the tax and customs people at 4 a.m, mounting an hour-long spot examination because he's arrived in a private plane, which is the way to get back quickly from an international match, so you might be ready for the Atleti game. He's delayed there. And then by 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever, there's a mob of TV reporters going, "Oh, Leo, did you hear what your ex-agent, what Griezmann's ex-agent, Griezmann's uncle said about you?" If it had been me, I promise you, I'd have been coming out with haymakers. I'd have been taking out microphones and reports. You go and wait until it's daytime, and I haven't been traveling 15 hours if you've got questions to ask. And it's ridiculous that the disrespect with which we treat. The questions can be asked, they need to be answered. I wish there was more communication between elite stars and the working soldiers of the media. But treating a guy like that who's on the brink of saying, "Listen, the game's a bogey, what am I doing here?" is just, we eat ourselves up, is what we do.
Well,
we behave in a ridiculous manner, and we get Leo Messi looking ticked off on the pitch, and we wonder why.
So that's why, if you're Messi, you're thinking about, well, actually, faraway hills and greener grass and all that kind of stuff, and the grass is pretty green in Manchester.
That's why if you're Messi, you should hire me as his security, because then I would have waded into them. I tell you something, bodies everywhere. Yeah, the greener pastures of Manchester, Ger, I love. That's why I come on the show. It's a good expression. You don't hear that often.
It's a follow-on. Like it's a natural. You kind of the discontent is fomented so much, where he's like, yeah, okay, fine, I've had enough. You've broken me. You see it in all walks of life. People get broken.
I think that's how he feels right now, Ger. That's how he feels right now. I think June might be a different thing, but that's how he feels right now.
So that's what my question was actually not about June. My question was actually, is there a possibility now in January that something happens in a way that we didn't think was possible? Because actually, you know what, if you're Barca and there's 25, 35, 40 million plus you take his wages off, all of a sudden...
I think Barcelona would well, whether such a complicated question. They're run by an administrator effectively at the moment. I'm not sure that it's within his purview that he's statutorily allowed to do that. The new elections might just beat the end of the transfer market. I don't think the new president will want to be the one saddled with selling Leo Messi. I think, now I'm estimating, I don't have a hotline into his HQ about what he's going to do in January. I have spoken to somebody who runs a part of Team Messi because it's a big organisation, and I spoke to two days ago to him at length, and he led me to believe that the possibility of a Manchester City move at the end of the season is still very much there. The people that own City very much still want to do the deal. Moving in mid-season to any rainy, cold, northern climate at a time when Messi made a big fuss last summer about his kids, upon whom he dotes. Sports people pack their bags and take their families all around the world all the time. He won't be a perpetual exception, but he dotes on his kids. His kids and his wife were all in tears about the prospect of leaving last summer, hauling them up or leaving them behind in midwinter to go to a club in mid-season, a club where, unless he was moving to America or Miami in mid-season, won't speak his language. He doesn't have other languages. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
He's not going to move.
Okay, that makes sense. We're completely out of time. I've gone way over, but I do just want to have one quick question. Real Madrid could be essentially out of the Champions League tonight if they lose against Inter Milan. I mean, it's a remarkable, or on the precipice. It's a remarkable situation.
It is, and they've lost 7 of 8 Champions League matches in a row when Ramos hasn't been there. He's not there tonight. Yes, it's tricky. Inter showed in the first game that they could have the beating of Real Madrid. I'd like to believe for the value of the competition. I'd like to believe for the way in which the young players are coming through at Real Madrid that they don't go out, because it would be an enormous blow to credibility. Most of the people who are in Catalonia disagree with me. I trust them not to lose, but is it a possibility that Inter are good enough to run them off their feet and Lukaku to out-jump a defence that doesn't have Ramos in it? Yeah, yes, it's a possibility. It's not a daft idea. I think they live to fight again, Ger. I think.
Graham, great stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Cheers.
See you, lads.
Graham Hunter giving us some thoughts there. 0879 180 180 is the text number. You can WhatsApp us on that. That's the easiest way to get through to us this morning.